But you do know the end goal, and then as you continue to visualize it, the images will start to shift, and you will start to see the process as well. Hi everybody. Today I'm gonna kind of continue along the same lines that I've been on, which is discussing concepts that I relearned from reality transurfing. Today has been kind of a interesting day, to say the least. I've had some interesting experiences. Like, I ran into this guy down the road who was putting up those like black line things on the road that count the cars, or in this case bikes, and I was asking him what those were for, because I had never researched it or asked about that before, and ended up having like a really long conversation with him about topics similar to what I speak about, and about his life and about mine and all these other things, which is very interesting. I always enjoy those moments where you have kind of a spontaneous, fascinating conversation with somebody. So yeah, it'll be cool to see how that continues to affect my life further on, like what that conversation might have created within me that I am not yet aware of, and how maybe my end of the conversation helped him in some aspect of his life as well. I suppose I'll never really know that, but it's cool to think about. So, as I was walking today, which is kind of what I do before I record my YouTube videos at this point, I started thinking about this chapter in reality transurfing that discusses slides. And slides are essentially the filter through which you view life. And he discusses how most of the time your slides are going to be negative things. Like, if you are worried that you're not attractive, that can then turn into a slide, which then means that when you see two people talking, you wonder if they're talking about you and how ugly you are, or similar things to that, where we all tend to have these negative slides that we filter our life through, and they can drastically alter and negatively impact the rest of our lives as well. And how, if you want to, you can create positive slides that replace them or aid you in your search for that which you do want, and those you can play over and over to help you achieve whatever goal it is that you do want in the end. So, this concept of slides is kind of a cool one. It's a little frustrating as well, because it does require a lot of effort, and I think that's one of the things that's most frustrating about change and about shifting your perspective and whatnot. It takes a lot of work. But this whole concept of the slides is actually a really good one, in that it really does give you some practical advice on how to move forward with your goals, and like how you can go about visualizing, and what kinds of things will be beneficial to actually get what you want. So I did want to talk a little bit about those concepts as well. So as I am re-listening to this chapter, I start thinking about the goals that I've set for myself. And as I said in another video, one of the decisions I've made is that I would like to have a relationship, eventually get into marriage and possibly kids, or whatever the case may be. And because I've made that decision, I've started moving in that direction. And I don't really know the exact steps it's going to take, but one of the things that the slides concepts talks about, and his whole visualization system discusses, is this concept of visualize the end goal, and that will expand your capacity for what you allow into your life. And one of the things he suggests that you do is you give yourself permission to have whatever it is that you want. Like, that's one of the most important steps. And I encourage you to literally say those words. I give myself permission to have what I want. So he was talking about how when you visualize the end goal, you're expanding your capacity. You're allowing more into your life. You're getting your subconscious, your heart, or as I refer to, your right brain, you're getting it comfortable with this new idea, and then therefore allowing it to incorporate into the essence of you, incorporate into your heart, into your soul, to sink into your being and become a part of you, essentially. But if you really want to accomplish a goal, what you end up doing is after you visualize the end goal for a while, you start to visualize the process instead. So like with getting married and having kids, the first step, of course, is meeting the person, or at least that's what comes to mind for me. It didn't take long for me to integrate this concept into my being. You know, I just had to make the decision, and then I was like, yeah, I'm ready to allow that in my life. It's not even a struggle. But there are things that you struggle with to allow into your life. That one is not one that I personally struggle with. Other people might, but for me, it was mostly just like make the decision and then I'm ready for it. So I very quickly went from visualizing the end goal to visualizing the process, and I envisioned like several different ways in which I could meet my soulmate, and you know, like date him and all these other things. That's kind of what comes to mind. And I think one of the frustrating concepts here in the visualizing the process is you start to go, but what if I don't know? What if I don't know the process? What if I don't know the next step? You know, how am I supposed to visualize that? And one of the things that reality transurfing discusses is that whatever comes to mind is what you should be visualizing. And if that's the end goal, then that means you have more allowing to kind of embrace. You need to allow your body, your soul, your essence to expand, to incorporate more before you can figure out next steps. But if you're visualizing something else, like if you're visualizing, say, a first date, or you're visualizing a meeting, if you're looking for your soulmate, obviously, then that is what you need to be visualizing. That is the next step. The next step will come to you automatically because of your intention to reach the final goal. So it took me, I think, 3 times listening to this chapter basically in a row to finally get that message. And I don't know why it took that long, but I'm hoping that maybe I can save you guys some of that time. So essentially, just trust that whatever comes to mind is what you need to see. And, you know, whatever the next step is, it will come to you automatically through the power of external intention. Outer intention. Through the power of outer intention. So, the outer intention, you know, getting the world to kind of shift you to a new lifeline, or shift around you to a new lifeline, or a parallel universe, or whatever the case may be, depending on your capacity for understanding this stuff and willingness to believe in it. That's where the outer intention comes in. You kind of allow the world to bring a manifestation to you, rather than you forcing it to come. And that's where this whole visualization comes in, is because you don't necessarily know the next steps, you don't necessarily know the path, but you do know what you want. You do know the end goal, ideally. Because sometimes the wanting part is one of the most challenging. But you do know the end goal, and then as you continue to visualize it, the images will start to shift, and you will start to see the process as well. One of the most important aspects of this kind of visualization, though, is the necessity for you to be in it, which essentially means look at this manufactured world in your head and live in it. And I don't mean like all the time, but when you're visualizing, see it through your own eyes. You know, see it from inside your body. Don't just imagine the house that you want. Imagine yourself walking into it and seeing it with your own eyes and touching all this stuff in the house. That's kind of what he talks about as well. He says there are 3 kinds of visualization. The first one is the dream, which is probably the most ineffective because you don't believe it either. So maybe you'll see what you want more, but more than likely you're not going to get much results from the dream. And then you have kind of like the, you visualize the object, or you visualize the desire, but you don't put yourself in the scenario. So you end up seeing the house or the car or the person that you want, but you aren't with them. So that's why the third perspective, the third type of visualization is so important, because you not only want to say what you want, but you want to clarify that it is for you. So, that's also something to keep in mind. And I know that I'm kind of like condensing this subject into a smaller edible bite for you guys. You can totally go and read this whole chapter if you want to. But yes, it's kind of interesting. One of the things that he talks about, though, is how the whole point of this visualization is to bring your mind and your heart into harmony, or as I would say, bring your left and right sides of your brain into harmony, because the left side of the brain is kind of like the computer, whereas the right side of the brain is more like the router. The right side of the brain can never be wrong because it is not coming up with information. It is merely downloading information from, say, like the cosmic consciousness. And the cosmic consciousness is about as close as we can get to infinite truth and wisdom. So more than likely, you should trust the right side of the brain over the left. But the right side of the brain is creative, intuitive, social, whereas the left side of the brain is logic and reason. This also goes into the difference between feminine and masculine energy, but essentially we have a tendency to live in the left side of the brain and kind of forget about the right side of the brain, but the right side of the brain holds so much more potential, because a computer without internet access is, it can do calculations, but one of the most interesting and vital parts of a computer program is how it can connect to the router, which can connect to the internet, and then input all of this extra data from everybody else in the world who has put it online. So that's kind of what that concept is he's talking about bringing these two aspects of yourself into harmony, and that is the way that you manifest things. And from my experience, particularly in these last couple weeks, gratitude is a fantastic way in which to actually achieve this kind of harmony. And as somebody who has meditated for years, I think I'm further down this path than a lot of people tend to be. I live kind of in a state of harmony inside myself. That's why my base emotion is peace rather than, like frustration or slight happiness, whatever the case may be. I tend to be fairly high on the emotional scale, with kind of a baseline of peace or love or whatever the case may be, appreciation, gratitude. So, I kind of live in this quasi-harmonious state more often than not, but if you are somebody who struggles with this, I mean, we all do, I do too, but I found that gratitude is extremely beneficial in getting out of this. One of the challenging things with gratitude, though, is nobody actually teaches you how to be grateful. Like, we throw this term out, gratitude, all the time, be grateful, but we don't really explain it very well. So I actually wanted to give you some practical guides in this one as well. And due to this thought, I'm not entirely sure how necessary the visualization is if you do this gratitude thing and actually incorporate it directly from mind to soul, because I feel like that would be more than sufficient. And if you're somebody who can't visualize, this could be a great mechanism for you, because visualization is not going to work. So essentially with gratitude, this is also something that I kind of got from this book. It's not explicitly stated, but it's something that I kind of translated for myself, which is everything, every physical thing that you come in contact with isn't yours. Your body is merely a vessel which has allowed you to inhabit it and therefore experience the physical world. So if you think of it this way, you are the soul and your body is the animal, and you chose to come into a body. So you chose to inhabit the world with an animal, kind of like a pet, but you're not its owner, So you asked this body if it would take you in, and it allowed you to come into it and accepted you as a piece and a guide and a supporter for it. So, like for me, somebody who has struggled with my physical appearance, For a long time, I was trying to shift my perspective from disliking certain aspects to liking them. And instead, when I started just thanking my body, saying thank you for allowing me to experience this physical world. Thank you for allowing me to come in, and thank you for doing the kinds of things that I ask you to do, and thank you for responding, and I hope that you continue to tell me what it is that you need so that together we can grow and experience more of this, so that we can become more integrated, so that we can communicate on a better level, things like this. And this concept came from the book where he describes this concept of make yourself at home, but remember that you are a guest. So I took that quite literally, and I said, okay, I've made myself at home in my body, but I did forget that I was the guest. I forgot that my body was a host and that I was merely a guest in this house, and a very comfortable guest. Somebody who very much enjoyed the benefits of this house, of this structure, but I forgot that I was a guest, so I kept trying to make the decisions that an owner would make. I kept trying to change and shift things, but what I needed to do was just be grateful and then allow the host or allow the house or allow, the situation to accommodate me, rather than me trying to make it something that I wanted instead. So if you're looking to apply this kind of concept to the rest of your life, try to look at it from the perspective of this is not something that you own, rather it is something that you have access to and that wants to work with you, and so therefore you thank it. So if it's your house that you're frustrated with, then you say things like, thank you for protecting me from the weather. I really appreciate that you provide me with light and energy and, plumbing. These are things that didn't used to exist. So I'm so grateful for the electricity and the plumbing and the running water and the warmth. And if you have AC, the AC, the heater, all of these things that you provide to me that keep me comfortable, healthy, strong, and happy, you start to apply that. If it's your significant other that's your problem point, they don't belong to you. So instead you say, thank you for being here with me, thank you for experiencing this life with me, thank you for witnessing the things that go on in my life. I hope that we can continue to learn to communicate with each other, and I hope that we can come into harmony and resonance. And I thank you for your willingness to work with me and to adjust to my changes and my emotional challenges and, my integration with my own body kind of thing. So whatever it is that you are trying to shift, using gratitude as a mechanism for doing this could be potentially hugely beneficial to you. And it's shocking how when you start using gratitude, how quickly your perspective starts to change. I think it took me less than a week. I feel like it's only been 3 days since I started doing this gratitude thing, and I already feel like my whole world has expanded tenfold. So it's pretty incredible how quickly this stuff can shift your perspective, how quickly this stuff can change your life. I don't know how effective reality transurfing is. I don't know how effective the visualization techniques are, but I can tell you that even if the only results I get are that my emotional state is improved, I count that as a win. But I also do know that if I make the decision to have something, it's inevitable that it will come. And that's kind of one of the cool things about this too. We have this idea that we can only get things if the world allows us to. But the truth is, if you're willing to stick with something, if you're willing to persist and to, keep focusing on that goal and moving in that direction, it's basically impossible that it won't come to you. And a lot of us try to do this through force, or what is called inner intention, according to this book, where we say, I'm going to do whatever it is I have to do to get this thing. But inner intention can only get you so far. I can spend all day, every day, recording these videos, editing, and uploading them, but in the end, I can even spend all day, advertising them. But in the end, it's up to the customers, it's up to my followers. I mean, it's up to the universe to decide who sees this, who enjoys it. I mean, I don't have control over those things. I can't make you like my videos. So, knowing that after a certain amount of effort, it's no longer on you to make these things happen, you can kind of relax and allow that feeling of knowing to sustain you and carry you forward. We don't know when things will come. I do know that they will come, though. And the main reason why I know this is because I've made the decision. I've made the choice and I've said, that is for me. That is mine. And because I've said that, it has to be that way. And I wish that I could translate this feeling of clarity to you. I can only hope that maybe something that I'm saying here will resonate with you and you'll be like, oh yeah, I felt that before. It's so hard to describe. But after a while, you just get this feeling where you're like, yeah, I know that now. I get that. And I don't really know how to get you there other than to tell you, meditate. It is a fantastic way to come back into alignment with who you really are, and to feel that kind of gratitude and appreciation that I'm describing here. But yes, I think I should end the video with that. Because, I'm at 20 something minutes right now, so I figure that's probably sufficient for now. If you have any questions or comments on this topic, or, you want to discuss it more, feel free to write comments in the comment section and I'll do my best to respond. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like it, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, and I would love to have you as a supporter over on Patreon as well, so be sure to check that out. But that is everything I have for you today, so thanks for watching. I will talk to you again soon. Bye.